Welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have with us Hugo van den Biggelaar. He is a Dutch entrepreneur, ex Nike, now based in Brooklyn, New York. So we'll learn, and he is changing how American companies think about growth. And as he says, most strategies fail before they start. So he shows leaders why and what to do instead. So we learn from him how to stop guessing and start doing the right things at the right moment, what founders get wrong when scaling, and how to build growth that actually works. Welcome to the show, Hugo.
Thank you very, very much. I'm excited to be here.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show, Hugo. Welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people, a lot of businesses across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll talk about business growth, we'll talk about strategy, and we'll talk about much more. But before that, let's understand a bit about your journey, your background, so that the audience knows who they are listening to.
Yes. So my name is Hugo. I started my journey actually as a professional working at Nike as a finance intern in the Netherlands, and that's been around 8.5 years ago. And through finance, I worked my way through insights. I've been in loyalty. I've done digital marketing, and my last role was actually in brand concepts in Portland, Oregon for Nike until this summer when my wife and I decided that we wanted to move to New York. So we moved to New York in November, and it's been a couple of months in this city, and I must say it is a fantastic city. And while being here, I decided it was time to stand on my own feet, and together with my mentor, Frans de Groot, who is a Dutch entrepreneur and marketing consultant, genius, you can also say, we are bringing the Bitsing company to the USA. And the Bitsing company is bringing the Bitsing methodology, and which is a methodology that is rested on 7 principles that, if applied properly, will guarantee growth for any organization.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Hugo, what is the difference that you are seeing with the way they are doing business in the part of this on the part of the world that you are in New York, and how it was when you were in Netherlands?
I would say it's a very good question. I would say the differences here is people in New York tend to be very, very entrepreneurial, and they're very much on top of things. So in that sense, I would say the being here as an entrepreneur is very inspiring. However, when it comes to these growth methodologies, right, that we're bringing here, what we do say is what I do see is that people tend to when they are trying to optimize the performance of their business, trying to stimulate growth, setting growth targets and goals, they tend to focus on maybe one things, maybe two things, but they don't have an all-encompassing methodology that ensures that we're optimizing for every part. And I do feel that as a result of that, sometimes they might be stimulating growth in certain areas of their business through whether acquisition or moving into a different market or different product category, maybe even a different sales channel. However, it could very well be actually that is not the best thing to do. That is not the most optimal thing to do when you have to spend your resources, when you have to pay attention and put your focus in as a team.
Absolutely. So, isn't it that everyone has to, as they say, do in Rome what Romans do? In the same way, if you are doing business in any other part of the world, then you look at the target audience and accordingly do it. Americans, they do it in the way because they have learned through their own methods, because that is what people, it works for them, and it has been working for many countries, not only in the US, but many parts of the world also. So, how does your thinking about business growth and strategy work in the US part? Help us understand so that people anywhere in the world, businesses across the world, they can learn from your insights and strategies and understanding of businesses.
Yes, of course, I would love to. So basically what we say when applying Bitsing as a method is that we, like I was alluding to, we have 7 principles. So we need to focus on the principles. And to to be able to understand how to apply them, the first thing we say is that success is the sum of all parts. So like I was saying, we can't just optimize for a certain piece. We can't just hope that or focus on a certain area. We have to acknowledge that success is the sum of all parts, and performance therefore only happens when we do everything together. Now, when it comes to the actual principles, what we say the first thing is setting up a continuity goal. And what we mean by that is that a lot of companies or organizations tend to not have very clear financial goal setting for the year. And what we help with Bitsing is we help you to set 3 financial goals. So one is your continuity goal, which is your baseline and basically means if I set this goal, I can pay all my bills. So basically means it is your break even. The second one is an ambition goal. So once we establish a baseline, we can set up a ambition goal to make sure that we, not just play break even, but we actually, make some money as an organization. And the third one is your dream goal. That is, if everything goes perfectly well, are we able to hit that? And why it is so important that it's financial goals is that if you as a company don't set clear financial goals, you're missing control and accountability. Because if a team doesn't know what their financial goals are, they can also be held accountable for hitting them. And what you then start to see is that people start to mix up what a goal is and a strategy. So instead of having clear goals, they start to confuse strategy and goals. And as an example that I can give there is basically what you can think of is that, let's say as a company, you say our goal this year is brand awareness. So we invest a lot of money into ensuring that there is brand awareness. And actually, at the end of the year, it turns out that we successfully managed to hit brand awareness. However, if that brand awareness is not converted into sales, we can still hit our goal and still go bankrupt in 1 year. So that's why we say it is important that you only have financial goals as your North Star that you're working towards, because they keep you accountable, but also they help you to focus on the right things and not confuse what a strategy is with an actual goal. Because once we have defined the goals, we can start to think around, okay, what are the actual strategies that we want to go after? And what we see there is that a lot of companies and organizations tend to make decisions that maybe are not the rational ones. And an example that I love to use here from actually a Bitsing business case of a client that we have helped is a toy store chain where the toy store chain was marketing games to kids. But once we started doing the financial data analysis and we checked all their finances, what turns out was that kids were 0% of their revenue streams, and and games was around 10 to 15% of their revenue streams. Whereas at Bitsing, we have a method called the pencil method, where we basically, it's a certain model that we apply to understand where your focus should be. And what turned out is that fathers was 82% of their revenue, and those fathers were buying 64% in total of Legos. So instead of marketing games to kids, they should have been marketing Legos to fathers. So what we say is it's important that you focus on the facts, because once you focus on the facts, you can start to build strategies that actually help you to hit your financial goals. 3, that is what we call making yourself unbeatable. So what we say is we have to find something that we at Bitsing call your golden egg. We have to find a reason for you to stay to market to your customers so that they will stay with you. And even if competitors say they're faster, they're better, or maybe they even have cheaper products. So we'll help you to understand what is this one thing that no one else can copy. What is this one thing that no one else can claim except you as an organization? And an example that I can give there was from a Dutch airplane builder. They decided after 100 years that they wanted to move into airplane maintenance instead of building. And they had to compete with the likes of British Airways, Lufthansa, the biggest out there, that actually already had established relationships with companies like Boeing and Airbus, and you name it. And once we helped them to understand what their unbeatable advantage was, they found that it was something that the word that entailed the word history. And what do they mean by history? Well, actually, they found, hey, we actually have been building for 100 years already airplanes. So when it comes to our history, we know way better to maintain an airplane than a British Airways or Lufthansa, who have never built an airplane. So once we figured out what was this uncopyable advantage, this emotional reason to stay with, in this case, this Dutch airplane builder, we started to heavily market that. We built a slogan around it. You will see it on their website, the way they were communicating with the engineers of Boeing and Airbus for when conducting business. This word history was everywhere. So we managed to find a uncomparable advantage and emotional reasons to create preference and stay with this Fokker Services, which was the name of the Dutch airplane builder. So first you establish your financial goals, or your 3 goals in this case. Secondly, you start to look at the facts and don't make assumptions around what are your focus areas, who should you focus on, but look at the facts around, hey, what are the most important things that where my money is coming from, so I can ensure that I'm marketing towards these people, or I'm focusing my right effort on the right product categories, sales channels, you name it. And then we start to find something that makes you unbeatable. Because once we have done that, what we can do is going to principle 4, where we can start to see, okay, hey, if we know all these things, we have to acknowledge one thing. If you have a total addressable market and we want to make sure that we address everyone in that market, we have to acknowledge that people are at different phases of their relationship with us. So some people might have never heard of us, other people might have bought our product once, and other people actually might buy our services every day. So if we start to market the same message to all those people in the same way, a lot of them are going to feel like, hey, why are you saying these things to me? Because I already know them. If we start to market our loyalty program to someone that has never heard of us, that is not the right thing, because they're going to feel that that they want to. We first need to establish brand awareness and brand preference before we can get there. If we're going to market a product to someone that already is bought often with us, they already know those things. So we have to create a specific approach for these various life cycle phases of where our consumers are in. So principle 4 allows us to understand, okay, if we have to start from the get-go, we have to create brand awareness. That is the first step. The second step is create brand preference. So we need to make sure that they not only know our brand, or organization, but they actually have a preference for it. They want our brand. After we've done that, we have to generate traffic. So how can we make sure that these people come to our point of sale, whether that is in a store, whether it is online, or where it is, for example, in let's say in the B2B business, they make an appointment with the sales team. Now after that, once they have come to that point of sales, and we have to make the sale, obviously. So that is about generating sales. And then when it is about generating extra sales, we have to make sure they come back to us, right? And then finally, we want to transform them in an ambassador. So we have to acknowledge all these 6 steps of where these various consumers might be in when you think about the total addressable market, so that we can start to understand where our biggest obstacles are. Because for a certain business or a certain industry, that might be in retention, whereas for another organization, it might be in brand awareness. And what you often see is that people don't really understand or don't really think about thoroughly of where their biggest obstacles are, and they just start to randomly optimize. They say, oh, we need to have a fantastic loyalty program and invest a lot of money into that. But if you think about it, they might actually, that might be a great investment, but it might be more needed in brand awareness, or it might be more needed in generating traffic. So at Bitsing will help you to make a ranking of what your life cycle looks like. Because once we made the ranking, we move into principle 5. And principle 5 is about making sure that we only implement effective marketing programs. And what we mean by that is that as a business, what I've seen too often in the industry, what I've seen too often at Nike as well even, is that we tend to market the wrong programs to create certain behaviors. think about, for example, extra sales, right? So someone makes a sale, they makes their first purchase with us, they sign up for the first service ever. And what happens after is that a week later you will get another email, hey, you want to buy this? Or a week later you get another email, you want to buy this? Or they say, hey, it's your birthday, here's 10% off. However, if I would go to your birthday and I would give you a 10% discount card and say you wanna go to my store and buy something, you would feel like that is a pretty bad birthday gift, right? You would expect something for free, which you normally give at a birthday. So what we say at Bitsing is, for example, if we think about this extra sales, it's about showcasing all the character that you have as an organization, all the unconditional rewards that you can offer, because as a result you will stay in a long relationship. If you ask someone that is married, hey, why are you in a relationship for 30 years, they won't be telling you that it is because they exercised a lot of buys, or like they bought a lot of product, they were kissing a lot, for example. They would say it is because you're having such a great character, we love that person, they're funny, they're witty. So it's about showing who you are as a brand versus just talking about we need to sell product. So that is just one of the six programs that we can apply when it comes to the 6 steps of where a customer is in their life cycle journey. And then the final step
Absolutely.
is about able to predicting the results and ensuring that you understand how much you are investing versus just gambling and putting some money into certain marketing activations and hoping it pays off.
Absolutely, Hugo. So how are they taking? How are in American businesses down where you are trying? How are they taking these ideas? Are they open to it or not open to it? That they love the way they have been working.
It's a good question. So, well, we're relatively new on this journey. So I started about 2.5 months ago, 2 months ago. So I'm right now starting to engage in the first conversations. But I must admit, so far so good. The way that we bring this method towards these various organizations has been through something we call an inspiration session, where we talk like a full hour about what the principles mean, also for you and your company. So it's more of a dialogue than it is a monologue. And what I have seen is that because the method is so all-encompassing and it's actually relatively simple when it comes to understanding what we're trying to do and why we're trying to do it, plus in combination with the fact that this method exists for over 30 years and has been implemented by over 1,000 organizations with an average revenue growth of around 30%, with some of the outliers being above 300%. So that makes it a very compelling case. So far the reaction has been really positive, and people are very excited. And what is funny to see, for me at least, is that I've been talking to a pretty big fast mover consumer goods brand. I've been talking to various AI companies. I've been talking to a tech scale up. So it's cool to see that it's industry agnostic or life cycle agnostic of where these companies are. So far so good, to answer your question.
So far so good, and I'm sure a lot of people, as you spend more time there and talk to more businesses will engage with you and understand your ideas and how they can implement your systems and be better at marketing and their strategies. So a lot of people who would want to connect with you and do business with you, what is the best way for them to do so?
Yeah, so you could always visit our website, bitsing.com, which is BITSING.com. So, and there you can find information. You can, reach out to me. You could also reach out to my email, which is hugo@bitsing.com. And what I can also recommend for the people listening at home, if you're interested in this method, and for example, you're not living in New York and you can't be making appointment with me for my services, what I would recommend is that we actually also have a book. So the founder of this method, Frans de Groot, wrote a book about Bitsing. I don't know, I believe you can buy it in 72 countries. And that book very thoroughly explains the method as well. So if you feel inspired and you feel, hey, I want to read more about this and I want to understand how I can apply this by myself to a certain extent, I would highly recommend the book, because that's how I also once got rolled into this method and became a vivid believer of the Bitzing methodology.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Yes, thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.